Right, welcome everybody, welcome all our Torah Anytime viewers. We're learning today for Shlema for Miriam Chaya Badwacha. We're also learning for Leilu Nishmat Chaim ben Klonius Kalman. It was a very big Baal Chesed who passed away last night or yesterday, and his funeral was today. So we're learning for his Leilu Nishmat and for the Shema. Okay, so we are continuing the story. This is part 2 of the story of Purim. Again, if anybody here didn't listen to it, I strongly recommend to listen to the first part because it's awesome, if I may say so myself. So a few things. First of all, originally I said it might be 2 classes. I decided I'm going to make it into 3 classes. One of the reasons is I was like, maybe I'll shorten it, and I was like, I don't plan on doing this, every single year. It's like a one-time, that you get all the information. It's online, it's on Torah Anytime, so you always have it. So we're gonna give you the full picture. We're not gonna cut it off, so it's gonna be in 3 classes, B'ezrat Hashem.
Also, we have another Thursday before.
But there's plenty of them. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so. That is that announcement. There's also I have to bring up. There was last time that I was here. It might have been you. I don't remember who, but somebody mentioned when I said the date of the destruction of the first Bet HaMikdash. I said it was 423, and was it you who said 586? Okay, so I looked it up. And you are right. There is something 586, and so let me explain to you why I don't. So if you look in history in general, so there is Jewish historians and there is non-Jewish historians. So according to the non-Jewish historians, the destruction of the temple was 586, if I'm not mistaken, BCE, which is like you said. The reason why I wasn't familiar with that is that I usually don't take my Jewish history from non-Jewish people, so that completely went over my head. But when I did look into it, it turns out that there's a machloka, there's a disagreement. The Jewish historians say that it happened on 423, and obviously we're going to go with the Jewish historians because it is Jewish history. And the secular, the non-Jewish historians bring it down to 586. So I also did some research, further research about it. We're not going to go into it, but I looked into there's a very noted Jewish historian by the name of Rabbi Beryl Wein. He's one of the most famous Jewish historians around. And so he also brings them down in his book Echoes of Glory. If you look in the beginning over there, I don't recall the page. I think it was page X, if I'm not mistaken. But he brings it down over there, this discrepancy, and he brings also down sources if you want to see there's 66 years discrepancy. So what's going on here? How can we mess up that bad? And he brings down some sources where you could look into more further reading if you want to know why there is a discrepancy. That's not the focus of tonight, B'ezrat Hashem. But just wanted to bring that up, that it is true 586 does exist, but it's according to the non-Jewish, 423 is the Jewish sources. Okay, now that we cleared up that, now we can go on and continue with the second part of the story, just to give a little bit of where we left off, a little bit on previously on the story of Esther. So there, we mentioned that Esther, out of all of the 127 women that came down to compete, if I may use that word, to become the next queen, she is the one that won the crown, and she was the one who became queen. And they made a party, and shortly after that, Mordechai got promoted from being an advisor. He went into one of the high advisors sitting at the king's gate. Additionally, there was an assassination attempt by Bigsan and Saresh to assassinate Achashverosh. They got caught, and Esther put it in the books that it was in the name of Mordechai. But Achashverosh never knew it was Mordechai. He thought it was Esther the whole time. Haman, at this point in time, Achashverosh had a very, very conflicting emotions about him, because at one point he was very upset at Haman that because of him he had to kill his wife, his first wife Vashti. At the other hand, he got something better. He upgraded. He got Estelle. So he's like, at one hand, I'm kind of happy that it happened, but at the other hand, I'm like, he's a jerk. Yeah, I don't like it. With the things that he made me do, I don't like it. So he had this conflicting thing. So he still had the plan of raising him up only in the future to bring him down. So Haman originally we spoke about that there were 7 advisors. Haman was the junior member. He was the lowest member. After this whole ordeal that Esther got, that he got Esther, he promoted him to the top one. So Haman went from the bottom to the top in the advisor rank. Now the problem with this is that Haman's origin wasn't ever, he didn't start off as a political figure. He was actually a barber and a bathhouse attendant. So he went from being, in that level to all of a sudden second to the king, like the highest advisor. So the problem with that is that no one's going to honor him. They'll be like, why would we honor you? A few years ago you were giving me haircuts and opening the bath door. Who knows? What he was doing. So the king made a declaration. He made a decree that whoever sees Haman has to bow down to him, because that way, if you don't honor the king's advisors, then in a sense you're not honoring the king himself. But if I make sure that everybody has to honor the Haman, in a sense they're honoring the kingdom as well.
Was Haman also from Babylon?
It's interesting. I'm not sure where his origins were.
I think he's Persian.
Could be. I'm not sure. It would make sense that Persian. I would, if I were to, I'd probably say Persian.
He became very rich, richer than.
Yeah. Not. Well, yeah. Okay.
I also heard a case where he was supposed to be Mordechai's slave because Mordechai.
Oh, we'll get to that. Spoiler alert. All right. Yeah, we'll get to that. We're going to speak to that very shortly. So, the king gave these orders to bow down. Now, the issue that Mordechai particularly had about this is that Haman used to wear an idol around his neck. And one of the reasons he wore an idol around his neck is that he felt that his great success was in thanks and due to that idol. So while, and in essence, when people were bowing down to him, he was really saying, you're giving honor to my idol because in that merit I became who I became and I am where I am. So the issue with that is also on the Persian side, they actually practiced freedom of religion back then. So it was freedom of religion. You're allowed to practice whatever religion you wanted to. But now Haman is basically forcing everybody to sort of worship his idol. So Mordechai refused. He says he's not going to bow down. Everybody else bowed down to Haman and inadvertently to his idol as well. But Mordechai refused. So usually if you have to get in this awkward situation where you can't bow down to somebody who's a high political figure, you would try to avoid the person. You see him coming, so you run in the back alley, go the other way, make believe you don't see him. Mordechai played none of those games. Haman was walking down him, Mordechai just stared him down. And be like, and he showed him in his face, I'm not bowing down to you. There's no such thing of, and you'll soon see how, the political correctness did not exist in the Torah. So he looked at him full in the face and refused. Now, Mordechai had a good reason to refuse this. One of the reasons is because Haman was actually his slave, and this is the story that we're going to bring up. So many years before, there was an Indian province that rebelled against Achashverosh. I think it was in the second year of his reign, of Achashverosh's reign. So Achashverosh went and he sent two generals. One was Mordechai, one was Haman, each with 6,000 troops and with 3 years worth of provisions of supplies. So they go in. One was supposed to go from the east. Haman was supposed to go, and Haman was going to go from the west. Mordechai was going to go from the east, and was sort of basically shut down the whole rebellion from from surrounding it. So they went and they each separated on the ways, and one went to the west, one went to the east, and within a year, while they're still out in the field, Haman just wasted all his supplies on his people. Like they had parties and they just abused it. Mordechai was very strict. He was like, no, we have to make sure this lasts for 3 years. After 1 year, Haman goes over to Mordechai. He makes a trip around to the other side, and he says, listen, you got to help me out. It's been a year and we're dry. Our supplies are done. He says, I know you have a lot of supplies. You got to help me out. My men are starving. So Mordechai says, listen, I can't help you out. He says, I have enough for 3 years. If I give you, my men are going to be running short. So Haman started pleading and begging. He said, you got to help me out, brother. He's like, please, I'm begging you. You got to do something, because if the king finds out that I wasted all the supplies within a year, he'll have my head. He'll kill me. So Mordechai said, yeah, but what am I supposed to do? They're going back and forth. He's begging and he's and finally Mordechai said, you know what? Fine. I'll make you a deal. I will give you the supplies, but you have to pay me. So Haman says, what am I going to pay you with? We have nothing out here. So he says, no, you're going to pay me that you're going to be my slave. I'm going to buy you as you can't sell me anything, so you buy me as a slave. So Haman said, listen, he's thought about it for a second. It's better to be a slave than to be killed. So he decided, fine, I'll be a slave. So they wanted to write a contract, but they couldn't write a contract. They didn't have any paper out there. So they took a part of the metal. They used to wear armor in the army over there. So they took part of the metal of the armor from the foot, and they carved out a contract on the armor. And Haman side, Mordechai side, and they made a contract that Haman is going to be a slave for Mordechai 1 day a week. And now that all of a sudden you fast forward a few years later, where Haman is coming and everyone's bowing down to him, Mordechai made sure to wear the metal plate on his foot. The part where he is. So when Haman walked past by, he sort of lifted a little bit and be like, who's slave? I'm not going to bow. You're my slave. I own you. So this put Haman in a very tough situation, because he couldn't go to Achashverosh and say, there's one guy now bowing down to me, he's dishonoring you, because then it's going to come out that because of that, he squandered all his resources. So this is why you read the story of Purim and you're thinking about Achashverosh made a decree, everybody bowed down. One person didn't do it. Just go tell Achashverosh, tell him. He's going to force him to. And the answer was he couldn't do it. So all the king's servants, the high government officials, they also were nervous that Mordechai was not bowing down to it. They said, listen, it's going to affect us also. You're taking the whole ship down. He says, if you're not bowing down, they're going to think we're all in it. So he says, Mordechai answers back, says, well, I don't bow down to human. I only bow down only to God. So they answered him. They knew the Torah. They said, listen, Jacob bowed down to Esav. He says, just like he did, you bow down to it. So he says, while it's true Jacob did bow down to Esav never had a idol on him. And furthermore, I come from Binyamin. I come from the tribe of Benjamin. When Jacob bowed down with Esav, with all the other brothers, my ancestor Benjamin never bowed down. This is why the place of the Bet HaMikdash, the area of the Bet HaMikdash is in the area of Binyamin. Because the place that everybody's going to bow down to the one and only God, it goes only in the place where nobody else bowed down to anybody else, which is Binyamin never bowed down to anybody else. Hence, his portion is the portion where everybody bows down, which is the Kodesh HaKodashim. Okay, so Haman, heard about this. He started getting under his skin that Mordechai is not bowing down to him. So he decided, he's going to walk past by him deliberately, and they're going to do like the stare down. And so he walks past by, and Mordechai steers him. He stares back at him. He's not bowing down. He does a loop around. He comes back again, and so he says, let's play it nice. So Haman goes over to Mordechai and he says, peace unto you. Mordechai replies, to the wicked there are no peace. Right? You take the political correctness and you shove it out the door. And he says it like it is. So, and at this occasion, while they're having this little discussion, Mordechai reminded him again about that slavery contract. So Haman was getting very, very, very furious. He thought, listen, maybe Mordechai is one of these disgusting people who are always mean and is never nice to anybody. Maybe he's one of those. So he made a little investigation. He asked everybody who knew Mordechai, and everybody told him Mordechai, he's the nicest guy. He literally goes over to everybody and he literally says, how are you? Even the poorest person or the richest man, it doesn't matter. He speaks to them both equally the same. So this made Haman very, very upset. And he decided that he has to kill Mordechai. Then he started to think, he says, it's beneath my dignity. I'm a second to the king. I'm such a to kill one person. It doesn't make sense. And he's starting to think, he's like, Mordechai comes from the tribe of Benjamin, which, and King Saul came from Benjamin. Let me just give you a little, it's good genealogy. So Mordechai was from the tribe of Binyamin. He was also a descendant of King Shaul. King Shaul was the one who was supposed to kill Amalek, which was Agag. And Haman was a descendant from Agag, which is, Haman was Amalek.
How did he know that?
Haman Ha'agagi.
No, how did he know? Oh,
Yeah.
What is that's? How short of a line is that?
Oh, whatever. I don't know the line, but they knew it.
Wasn't it like 1,000 years between, or?
It was time between, but they knew it. It was they did. And not only that, Haman knew this. Even Haman knew it. Haman. So let's just be clear on the lineage. So you have. Let's start with Esav. You have Esav. Esav had a grandchild, Eliphaz, which comes from him, Amalek. Amalek came out Agag, and from Agag came Haman. That's the lineage from Esav. Now you have, from the other side, so you have Jacob had Benjamin. Benjamin had, through that lineage, you had King Saul. And King Saul was a descendant of, was Mordechai. Now, King Saul, if you take one step back a little bit, I hope you guys are still following. We should have brought that board again. So you have King Saul and you have Agag. King Saul killed out the entire Amalek tribe, except for, again, there's a whole story in that. He just
from tribe of
Benjamin. Yeah, Benjamin. King Saul. Shaul. Mm-hmm. So the problem is when I speak in like the art scroll language, and then I speak in that, and then I mix it together, so it's like Saul. There's someone, I combine both of them, so it's like some Arab guy. So anyways, so Haman now was saying, listen, his ancestor destroyed my ancestor. So now I should not, what I should kill? I should kill his whole tribe. The whole tribe of Binyamin, I will hunt them down and I will kill all the tribes. Just the tribe of Binyamin. And then he's starting to think, he says, I'm Haman. Beneath my dignity just to kill one tribe. He says, I'm going to kill a tribe, and I'm going to kill out all the chachamim. Because what happens is, if you kill out all the sages of the Jewish sages, then there's not going to be too much longer until the Judaism is just going to disappear, and the Jews are going to assimilate. And if they assimilate, it's just enough, it's equal as if I kill them all. So that's what he decided that he was going to do. Then he started thinking again more, and he says, no. Nothing's going to work unless I do the final solution, which is to kill every man, woman, and child from the tribe, from the house of Judaism, and that's what he decided, that he is going to destroy the entire Jewish nation. He's going to murder and exterminate the entire Jewish nation. So Before he went and presented this situation, he wanted to see if God's on his side, if he has the blessings. So he did a lottery, and this is what Purim is named after, the pool, which is a lottery. So he made a lottery. He made actually two. Well, it's actually going to be 3 lotteries. But the first lottery was he took 3 dice, and he numbered them from 1 to 6. But it was numbered in the Hebrew alphabet. So it's Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dal, Hey, Vav. And the way that he did it was each side was opposite. So you had 1 on one side of the die, and then on the other side of the die you had 6. I don't know if this is the common way the dies are now. It might be, it might not be. Then you had 2 on one side, and then 5 on the other side, and then you had 3 on one side and 4 on the other side. So, and this he numbered. So he took the dice, did it, it was good luck charms, blowing in it, and then he rolls it. He rolls it, it comes out to Gimel, Gimel, Aleph. Oh, thank you very much. It comes out to Gimel, Gimel, Aleph. And he's thought about it, which is literally 1, 3, 3. So he thought about it, this is really good, because this spells Agag, which is I come from, Agag. And then he says, you know what? Wait, let's not jump the gun. Let's see what's on the other side of it. So opposite the Daled was a Gimel. Opposite the Gimel was a Daled. Opposite the Aleph was a Vav, which means that it was Vav Daled Daled, which spells out David. So here it's working out really well. You have Agag falling out on the top, David falling down at the bottom. Haman saying, God wants me to do this. Agag is going to come on top, David is going to fall, and I'm going to be successful and exterminate the entire Jewish nation. So he said, listen, good, 1 for 1, but let's try it one more time. And this one, he's going to make it a little bit more complicated. He took 354 pieces of paper and numbered them from 1 to 354, because there's according to in the lunar calendar is 354 days. So he did that in one basket. He put that those 354 papers in that basket. Then he took another basket and he put to 12 months. So from all the Jewish Hebrew 12 months, he put it in on one side. And what he's gonna do is he's gonna pick out one number from here, and then he's gonna pick out the other number from the other side. If they correspond, that means that it's opportune. If they don't, so for example, if he picks out the number 100, and he picks out, let's say, Adar, he knows that's not going to work out because the 100th day of the year falls out in Tammuz and not Adar. So what he did is this is how he decided. So he went in there and he took out the number 337, which is 17 days before the end of the year. And then he went into the other pile and he picked it out, and it turns out it was Adar. And he says, this is beautiful. It's amazing because the 337th day of the year falls out in Adar. So it actually falls out on the 13th of Adar. So he decided, he says, this is great, this is amazing. So he says, let's go do some investigation on Adar itself. So he looks into Adar and he realizes that Moses died in Adar. He died in the 7th of Adar. So he says, this is really good. This is just getting better and better. He says that the luck for the Jews are not good in Adar. This is when we're supposed to kill them. And then he started thinking about it. You know what? It would have been better if the number would have fallen down on the 7th of Adar. Why did it fall out on the 13th of Adar? 7th of Adar, exactly when Moses died, that's when it should have fell out. What he also didn't know is Moses was also born on the 7th of Adar. One of the reasons that this was not common knowledge is because Moses was hidden for 3 months until which is Sivan, which is the time when the Torah was given. So so he has over here, and he's starting to think, why didn't it fall out on 7th of Adar? And then he thinks, no, it works out perfectly, because when Moses died, the Jewish people mourned Moses, and that's a big merit for them because they mourned the great leader. So when did the mourning finish? On the 13th of Adar. So this works out perfectly. Even the merit, it's not going to find it. And he did even more.
What month is Adar?
Adar is, it's like now, it's like March, April time.
February month.
Yeah. So then he goes and he looks in a little bit more, and he realizes, the plague of darkness that happened in the Egyptian exile. It's actually the Egyptian redemption. It also happened in Adar, and that would made him very happy, because in the plague of darkness, many Jewish people died. So he says, this is all working out so perfectly. He's like, the stars are shining at me, or whatever, he would say. So, and he was also very happy because now it was Nisan. When he did this, it was Nisan, which means he would have almost a full year to plan out his attack. So he was very happy about this. So he decided that, this is how the plan's going to be, but he's not going to wait to work on the plan right away. He wants to work on it right away, so he can get it to the king, get the decree signed, and send out the decree to out the entire world. So one of the reasons that he wanted to do it so fast is that let the Jews know, in a certain sense, that something big is going to happen, because maybe they'll give up their religion, maybe they'll just get it, which will be almost as good as killing them. So Haman decided now he has to sell this to the king. And there was no one better in slandering, in lashon hara, than Haman, that he would be, so he was right up for the job. So he's trying to think of his tactic. How am I going to go and explain this to the king? Because, exterminating an entire nation from a kingdom is not so simple to just go and present that. So he decided, he was thinking about it, and he figures, he was also nervous about the whole situation with Esther and Mordechai. So these two seem to be pretty close. Maybe Esther's Jewish, we don't know. So he's thinking about, I have to dance around this very, very carefully. So what he decided that he's going to do is he's going to say about this nation, and he's going to speak bad about this nation, but never call it specifically the Jewish people. And he literally started bad-mouthing them to bad-mouthing us to Achashverosh. He said there's one nation, Mufuzar, they're all throughout the entire kingdom, and they're just, they're such weird people. They have the weirdest customs. They mutilate themselves with circumcision. They dress differently. They will never intermarry with us. They will never assimilate with us. They like to stick out like a sore thumb. They just cause you problems. And one of the reasons that Haman had to do this is because, the Jewish people, they had, for sure they were wealthy merchants. They had, high, powerful positions. They were, wealthy, professionals. So, it would harm the economy as well. So this is where Haman also went in, and don't worry, I'll pay them for you. He was willing to pay for them 10,000 loaves of silver in order to exterminate the entire Jewish people. Now, he never said that it was entire Jewish people, even though, Achashverosh sort of figured it out, but they never actually spoke about it. And Achashverosh was not very fond of the Jews as well, because he was told by, one of the things that a king does, one of the, when they speak to the astrologers, the magician, they're always so curious to find out who is going to take their crown. Because if they could find out through astrology, through the future, seeing who's going to take their crown, so maybe it's going to be an enemy. If they see that it's their child, so it'll be like, okay, I'm good. I don't have to worry about the enemy. So it's sort of something that the kings were very into. So he went over to his astrologers, his magicians, and he says, please, you got to help me out over here. Who is going to take my crown? And they look in the stars, they look into their crystal balls, whatever they used, and it turns out they said, a Jew is going to take your crown. So since then, the king did not like the Jews at all, because he's like, the Jews are somehow going to get... This also makes a little bit sense why he said, I'll give you up to half the kingdom, when he tells Esther, in a little bit, we'll soon see, but I'm not going to give you the Bet HaMikdash, because he had this fear against something is going to happen to the Jews. The reason that a Jew actually did take his crown, but it happened to be his son, Darius II, because he didn't realize Esther was Jewish. Esther kept that hidden. So he didn't know this. So he had this hatred towards the Jews at this point in time. So Haman is selling this, this idea of exterminating the Jewish people, and Haman is even saying, you don't even have to worry about it. Everybody hates them. Nobody likes them anyway. All you have to do is revoke any punishment that happens if somebody kills them. Everybody will do the job for you. And so Achashverosh said, listen, he says, I have a feeling I know who you're talking about, and but if if it is who I think it is, I have learned not to mess around with them. Their God is too strong. Look what happened to Nebuchadnezzar. Look what happened to Belshazzar, which we spoke about last week, who just used the kelim of the Bet HaMikdash, and he died, and he lost his kingdom. He says, I heard it's not a good idea to mess around with these people. I really don't want to mess around with them. So Haman said, come on, what are you talking about? These, back then their God used to be strong. There used to be strong. He had the temple. There, look at it. Now it's destroyed. He's old. He's weak. We could take him. And Achashverosh was nervous. Was going back and forth. So Haman, so Achashverosh said, listen, let's ask my advisors. So they call a meeting and they ask their advisors. All advisors that brought up this question to, they said, not a good idea to exterminate the Jews. They went in and they said, the world cannot endure without them. It says our gods, the advisors said, are nothing compared to their gods. And furthermore, they said, look at the advisor says, just look at history. All the kings that went against them are no longer. It says it's not worth it to actually go against them. And one of the king's advisors says, yeah, look what happened to Paro. Who's Egypt now? Egypt is nothing. He says, Haman got really angry. He slammed it down. He's like, enough. And he started saying, he says, yeah, and he goes through his whole spiel. He's like, yeah, with his forceful personality, he literally he's no longer he's no longer relevant nowadays in age. Says Haman for the Jewish God. We could definitely take him now with Haman's forceful personality and his ability to convince people. He was able to convince all. They didn't want to fight with him. They said, fine, you know what, go with it. So. They all said, after the meeting, they all agreed with Haman that we could exterminate the Jews. So Achashverosh still was a little bit nervous about it, and this is why he took every, back then, every advisor, every high government official had their own ring. Their own ring was a stamp. It was a stamp that they had certain level of clearance that they were able to do certain things. Now, certain things they would be able to do, certain things you need the stamp of the king in order for approval, depending if it's a big thing. The king took off his ring, his stamp, and gave it to Haman and says, you have full access to the entire kingdom. Anything that you want, you could do it. Now, one of the reasons that he did that is he didn't want to take responsibility. He wanted to, play innocent, play dumb. Yeah, I don't know what's going on over here. Haman is taking care of it. This way, if it's really bad, he has to take the hit for it. So at this point, the king said, but one more thing, we got to do another lottery. And this is the third lottery. So he goes and he says to Haman, Achashverosh goes to him and he says, I'm going to take two pieces of paper. One of them I'm going to write silver. The other one I'm going to write people. And you choose one. If you choose people, the Jewish people are yours, you can kill them. If you choose silver, you take back your money and you go home. So Haman said, fine. And they did the lottery and he picked out people. He got people. So Achashverosh says, Chazak u'baruch, go on with your plan. So the king also furthermore said and says, and furthermore you can keep yourself out, I don't need your money. And even more so, if you need anything from my kingdom, it's at your dispense. You need more people, you need more money, it's at your dispense. So Haman got the okay. He didn't wait, next, okay, now he won the sale, he's going to go to sleep, take a nap. No, the important rule with anybody who is in business, if there's somebody that you're able to close, you close right then and there. You don't wait till tomorrow and try to sell the person again tomorrow. If he's ready to sign, you sign right then and there. Haman got the okay, he put out the declaration right then and there. He sent it out, he shipped it off. And right after he shipped it off, he quickly called the king and says, let's make a party. Let's make, what they wanted to eat, they wanted to drink. One of the reasons that he wanted to do that is he realized that if he gets a king drunk, the king's going to think about it. What did I just do? Oh my gosh, I can't do that. And he's going to hear all the people complaining. The Jewish people are going to come want to complain to the king. He says, better to get the king drunk. Let it happen, like in 12 hours, he comes to and he's going to come to and he's like, what did I do? But at that point, it's going to be already all sent out throughout the entire... Yeah, sort of. So that's what he decided to do, and that's what happened. Now, when he wrote the decree, when Haman wrote the decree, he wrote it. It was like literally a disgusting decree. He literally said the Jewish people should be treated like vermin. They're garbage. They're nothing. They're not even human people. The children should be ripped out from their parents, from the mother's arms. They should be, murdered all in one day. The men, women, and children all in one day. And we're not allowed to even bury them. Let them stay out and bodies rot. Like he really put it out to a certain level of disgust. But he didn't send this out to everybody. All the details of the information went only to the government heads, the top of the governments in all the different countries. The information that he sent to the regular people was basically get ready for the 13th of Adar. Is something big is going to happen. Stay tuned for more information. So he also published over there. He says that anybody who kills a Jew, you get to keep all his property. One of the reasons usually when you exterminate or you take war, the king takes all the property for himself. But Haman wanted to give everybody the ability to take the properties that whoever they kill. We'll soon see how. Yeah, I'm going to bring that up. How similar this whole thing happened. So he said the Haman didn't want the Jewish people to be able to bribe them. He'll be like, listen, save us, spare us. I got $5 million in the bank. I got another $2 million in Switzerland. I'll give you everything. Just spare my life. And the people, whatever they were, Persians or whatever they are in the entire world, be like, you cannot bribe us. We own everything that you have because we kill you. So there was no way to bribe out. So this way, there was no way for the Jewish people to get out of it. Haman wanted no way out. So he sent over this decree throughout the entire kingdom. In the Shushan, the capital, things used to tend to leak out of the castle. Information tends to leak out, and it leaked out that the Jewish people are going to be exterminated on 13th Adar, and everybody knew it. In the other far out kingdoms, very few people actually knew about it. Only the high government officials. So in Shushan, it got, it was people started panicking, and Mordechai heard this decree like almost right after it was, came out, and he was very nervous. So what he did is that the first child that he went over to the child and he says, "What are you learning today?" Now, if you realize any stories in the time of the Tanakh, and the time even of the Gemara, they in order like a way of like a sort of like a prophecy is you ask the child what he learned today, and what he tells you it serves a little bit as a message from God. So Mordechai goes over to the first child. And he tells him, what pasuk, what verse did you study today? So the child quoted him a pasuk from Proverbs chapter 3, verse 25. And it says, "Be not afraid of the sudden terror. The destruction of the wicked will come." So, Mordechai is saying, I like the way that sounds. All right, that's good. So, let's ask one more child. He goes over to another child, asks him the same question. What did you learn today? Give me the pasuk that you learned today. So he quotes him a pasuk from Isaiah chapter 8, verse 10. And it's written, "Make your plans, they will not succeed. Speak all you want, nothing will come of it, for God is with us." Well, it's like 2 for 2. All right. This is looking good. He goes and says, one more child. He goes over to the third child and he says, What did you learn today? So the child quoted him pasuk from Isaiah chapter 46, verse 4, and he says, when you are old, I will be the same. When you turn white, I will sustain you. I made you and I will take care of you. I will sustain you and rescue you. Mordechai says, nothing to worry about. 3 for 3, we're good. So he's smiling, he's happy. And Haman is watching this whole thing happen. And he sees all of a sudden, Mordechai was very nervous at one point, and no, he speaks to the 3 kids, all of a sudden he smiles. So, Haman runs up to him and he says, what did the kids tell you? So Mordechai said, the kids told me I don't have anything to worry about, your dumb plan that you just, secretly made. So Haman gets really angry. He says, the kids are going to be the first ones to go. Mordechai went and he was very, even though this was good news, there was still a decree. There was still a decree written about this, and he was still very nervous about it. And what do you do if you have a bad decree written against you? There's only one thing that you can do, and that's tshuva. We got to do tshuva. Even though we have the ability to go to overturn it. Look at with the 3 children. They gave us all good reports, but at the same time we have to do what we have to do. So he put on a sackcloth. He teared his cloth his clothing like a mourner, and he went out to the Jewish people and started. Did you guys hear what happened? This is what happened. So there's a decree that just came out that all Jews are going to be exterminated by the 13th of Adar, and the entire Jewish kingdom went into panic. Everybody was just where they were going. It was going crazy. They even went to their Gentile neighbors, and they says, please, we'll be your slaves. Just take us in. And similar to what happened in the Holocaust. And the Gentile says we can't. We heard part of the decree is that if we are harboring any Jewish people, we get killed also. In the far out provinces in the kingdom, the king was, the king wasn't able to hold as much control as he had in the capital. And when this came out, the Gentiles actually started killing some Jews, and there were Jewish people that were actually being buried in far out kingdoms because of this decree already. So Estelle hears this whole commotion about this Jewish people. Something is going on. So she sends for Mordechai to come in, and she wanted to speak to Mordechai. So Mordechai was able to go only till the king's gate. One of the reasons that he can't go, one of the reasons he couldn't go in is because he was wearing a sackcloth. He was wearing a sackcloth. He was wearing ashes. He was ripped. His clothing were ripped because he was mourning. And he promised. He says, "I'm not going to take this off until the Jewish people are saved." And you're, as an advisor or anybody, you're not allowed to go in a mourning garment, garb into the palace, because then it's a bad omen for the king. It's like you're waiting for the king to die. You're actually mourning for the king. So he was only able to go to the king's gate, to the outskirts of the city. So now Estelle wanted to get some information from Mordechai. So she couldn't speak to him, and so she decided they're gonna do it through a messenger. So she didn't take one of her servants because it would look suspicious. Her servants going back and forth. Mordechai, something fishy is going on over here. So she took Hatach. Hatach was an advisor to the king, who according to many opinions he was none other than Daniel, the prophet. And he went and he was the one who was the in-between messenger. Now he didn't go like he went to Mordechai and went to Esther. He sort of just went in the streets and just chance meet up with Mordechai, and they were just talking about the thing. So it doesn't look like he went straight to Mordechai. It was like taking a stroll, and then he passes by Mordechai, say, "How's your day going, good sir?" And then they just speak, and then it'll be like then they slip in the whatever the message was going back and forth to Mordechai and Estelle.
Why would he want to help?
Daniel, he was Jew.
Oh.
Yeah. So he went and Mordechai sends a message to Estelle, and he says, the time has come that you have to reveal yourself to the king. Tell him who you are and start begging. First, beg for yourself, as you're a Jew and you're part of the decree, and secondly, beg for the entire Jewish kingdom. So Estelle said, I would really love to, but I can't just go in. You can't, and she gave 3 reasons why I can't just walk into the king and start begging it. First of all, there is a law that was put in by Haman that you cannot go into the king's, into the king's room unless you get summoned either by Haman or by the king. And if you go when you're not summoned, then your punishment, your penalty is death. And unless the king had a scepter and he would stick out the scepter, if you came in and he stuck out the scepter, you touch the scepter and then you're saved. But if he doesn't, then it's off with your head. She says, "Listen, I can't just walk in. I'm going to be killed. What help am I if I'm dead?" That's what she tells. Estelle tells to Mordechai. Secondly, she says, let's say I go in. If I go in, the king might be upset at me. Let's say he doesn't kill me. Let's say he'll demote me. Who knows what he'll do to me? Of what help then I'll be then? And then the third reason says the decree's in a year. He says, we have time. Let us wait until the king calls me in, and then it's not a life risk for me, and I will actually be able to help whatever I can possibly help. And furthermore, hopefully the Jews will do tshuva, and God will change this decree, by that. So so that's what she sent to Mordechai. And Mordechai sends her back through, Hatach. He says, listen, that's not going to happen. We cannot wait. Even though the decree says Jews are giving up on the religion now. They're thinking that's not what's going to, we're not going to be able to stay as Jewish. Let's try to, blend in as a non-Jew, a Gentile. There are many Jews that are dying. You cannot wait. You have to go right now. So Estelle said back, listen, I'm not, if I knew I had the ability to do something, my life means nothing to me if I could save the entire Jewish kingdom. It's not because I'm scared. It's because I think logically it might not be the best thing to do right now. Mordechai sends her back and says it's not about logic at any point, it's what we have to do. And this is what we have to do right now. So she says, fine, I'll do it. And there was one last message that went through, and she says to Mordechai, I'll do it, but you have to do something for me. Gather the entire Jewish nation, and one of the things that she said is gather them, which means that beforehand, Haman said they're all separated. They're all throughout the entire kingdom. They're all not unified. They don't know unity. There's different communities that there was everywhere. So unify them. They're one community now. And then fast and pray for me for 3 days. And one of the reasons she said 3 days is, first of all, she said, I will also fast and with my servants for 3 days for the 3 sins that I need repentance for. Number 1 is I'm going to be going to Achashverosh. Now I have to willingly eat his non-kosher food. Number 2, I'm going to have to submit to him willingly. Until this time, she was reluctant, a reluctant wife. And number 3 is for, and I have to give you a little bit of introduction to this. Haman noticed that Hatach or Daniel was going back and forth with Haman. He's like, something fishy is going on over here. He says, I don't like the way this looks. He's talking to Mordechai, and then he's talking to Estelle, and he caught something is going on. So he had Hatach killed. He had Daniel killed, and so Estelle said she feels partially responsible for Daniel's death, and she wants atonement for that as well. And that's the third reason that she wants to fast for the 3 days. So that's what they did. Mordechai went and he gathered 12,000 Kohanim, and they each took shofar. They each took a sefer Torah, and they blew it in the street, and they did tshuva like full on 100% tshuva. They all cried, they begged, they wept, they broke the heavens with the tears for 3 days. There's one opinion that said they actually fasted for 3 days, and there's another opinion that says it's very hard to fast for 3 days. It's very difficult. So rather, what it means is they fasted Monday, Thursday, Monday. So after the 3 days. After the 3 days was over, she went and she put on all her back to her princess's uniform, whatever you call it, robes, and she wanted to go to the king. So she took her 2 maids. She took 3 maidservants, one on each side, and one holding what is it called? The tail, the veil, the train. The train. Thank you. All right, the train. So I spoke about this by the guys. They were like, oh, we have no idea what you're talking about. I'm like, me neither. They're holding something. All right, so they were holding the train. Train like choo choo. Oh, okay, fine. All right, whatever. Doesn't matter. Couldn't care less, but it's just weird. Okay, couldn't find out another word to use. Okay, whatever it is. All right. Anyways, so one was holding the train, the other 2 are on the sides. And so once you stepped foot into the king's, the palace, into his inner room, it was filled with idols. And before this time, she reached the level of Ruach HaKodesh. She literally reached the level of Ruach HaKodesh because she was fasting. She was praying for 3 days. And when she came into the room, all of a sudden the idols were there, so the Ruach HaKodesh left her. This is why one of the prayers that we know she said was Keli Keli Lama Azaftani. God, why did you forsake me? Why did you leave me? So she's going over there, and the king's room is over there. Now, obviously, it's very heavily guarded. And the question is, how does she get in now? Because she wasn't summoned. So the trick that she played is, if let's say you want to go into a place that you're not supposed to be in, if you walk in like you own the place and you belong there, people get confused and they're not sure, should you be, what's going on over here? Are you allowed to be here? And before they know, you're already inside. So she decided she's full force. She went on full. She didn't ask permission in the gate. Can you please let the king know that I'm here to see him? I have a 12 o'clock appointment. She did nothing like that. She went barged straight in, and she had all her servants on the side, so she looked majestic. She had one holding that, and she walked in and the guards were like looking at them, and they were like, she's not on the list. She didn't, and she just like walks in. Before she knows it, she walks in past by all the gates, every single door, and she's standing right in front of the king. She's standing right in front of the king, and the king looks at her, and he starts boiling up in anger. And he's like, I cannot believe these women. I don't understand these women. The first one, Vashti, I tried to get her to come so many times, and she didn't want to come. So I had her killed because she didn't come when I asked her to come. Now this woman is coming when I don't want to ask her to come. How ironic that she's going to die the exact opposite way. So he did not. Meanwhile, they're doing like the staring contest because Estelle is just waiting for the scepter to come out so she could tap that trio button over there that she's safe. So she's going over there and she's like very nervous. She's like it's not happening, and the king looks away from her, sort of signal, and the guards were like, do we kill her? She's the queen. I don't know what to do. They were all frozen, and at this point in time, an angel came. Achashverosh was looking away. The angel came, slapped Achashverosh in his face, and his head like just jerked onto the other side, and he was just staring at Estelle. And he was staring at her, and her beauty sort of calmed him down. And so he sort of he relaxed himself, and Estelle they stood frozen for a little bit, and then Achashverosh went and he stuck out a scepter, and she whatever she was safe. So the king goes over to her and he says why did you put yourself in so much jeopardy to come to me right now? You risked your life to come to me. What is it that you want? You're the queen. You can have anything that you want. Do you need money? Do you need to save something? What is it that you need? Anything that you want, you can have. He says, except for one thing, I'm not going to rebuild the Jewish temple. So she freezes for a second. He says, why did he tell me the Jewish temple? He doesn't know that I'm Jewish. Does he think that I'm Jewish? Maybe now it's not a good time to give him the request. She wanted to go in right then and there. Tell him, help, please. You got to save me. I'm Jew. You got to help my Jew. So she was, that threw her off. Like, why is he speaking about the Jewish temple? And Achashverosh told her, I'll give you up to half the kingdom, but I'm not going to rebuild the Jewish temple. So she decided now is not an opportune time. So she came over there and she says, listen, the reason why I'm coming is I wanted to invite the king, and then she threw and Haman to a party that I'm going to make for them. So she's thinking, so listen, I'll get him to a party and drink him some wine. You know how men are when they drink. The woman to be able to take the credit card and swipe as much as she needs if she does the right thing. So, and then she says, let me invite Haman also. Maybe I'll get some suspicion rising against them, to see to get the king a little bit jealous because of how much power that he gave for Haman. Haman literally was a second to the king. So, and then she says, listen, I have to be very grateful for Haman. I never actually thanked him because of him, because he convinced Vashti to be killed. He convinced that the king should find somebody else. So I'm only queen, only thanks to him. So I want to make a party for Achashverosh and for Haman. I need to thank him. So the king was, got thrown off guard. He says, why is she making a party for me and Haman? No husband ever wants to hear like his wife call him, hey, I'm making a party for you, and don't forget, make sure you bring your best friend. But why do you want my best friend? That's very weird. Like, what's going on over here? So, his man mind starts playing. He's like, okay, why does she want that? And then he gets very upset. He's like, what? Does the queen think that she has to listen to Haman? So the king goes and he sends a decree and he says, you make sure that tell Haman that he has to come to this party, not because I said so, but because the queen said so. Then make sure that he also knows that he also has to listen to the queen. So they went, they made the party, and she made the party. She put wine and food, and they all ate at that party, except for Estelle. She wasn't, she said that she's not feeling well, but really she was fasting. So Achashverosh goes over to her and he says, after the end of the party, he's like, so tell me, you didn't do this for nothing. You didn't risk your life, make a whole party for nothing. What is it that you want? I know there's something that you want. A man would be like, okay, how much is, when a woman goes over to her husband, hey honey, can we talk? So what is the guy, how much is it going to cost me? Give me the number. So Achashverosh is like, what is it going to cost me? What is it that you want? And he says, anything that you want, you can have. So she says, listen, all I want, I wasn't able to enjoy the party today, and I wasn't feeling so well. Please come for another party that I'm going to make for both of you tomorrow. So, and she threw in a little bonus. She says, oh, tomorrow, I'm going to tell you what's my birthplace, what's my origin. A little surprise. The king's like, ooh, I've been trying this for 9 years to figure out where you come from. All right. So, but now the king's jealousy even, she's like, she thanked Haman already. So why does she need Haman the next day already again? She's like, maybe there's something, what's with these parties and inviting Haman? He didn't like the way that this was going on. So, and he started thinking, like, maybe there's something going on between them. Maybe they're in cahoots. Maybe they're trying to plan something. So meanwhile, the king's mind is going on this, and Haman is leaving. He left. This is right after the first party. So right after the first party finished, she got invited for another party, and Haman leaves. Haman leaves. When he first came to the party, he was very nervous about the party. He was thinking, he's like, it doesn't make any sense. I just put out the decree for the Jewish people to get killed. Shortly after that, all of a sudden, Esther risks her life and invites me and more. Something's fishy over here. She probably wants something. So Haman was in his in his very perceptive way. He was trying to figure out what's Esther's plan also. It's like, what's going on over here? And after he left the party and he realized that she wants him to come again for another party, he realized he doesn't have to be afraid from it. It's like she has nothing to do with the Jewish people. It's just, and his man brain starts thinking, and he's like, you know what? No man, no woman can resist Haman. she just, she wants a piece of Haman. That's the only logical explanation that we can have for this. And he's starting to think, she's not my enemy. The Midrashim says it's unbelievable. She's fond of me. She actually likes me. So he's in the best mood. He thinks that the queen likes him, and he's getting the best honors. So he's walking out of the palace in the top of spirits, dancing the way down the streets, until he sees Mordechai sitting at the king's gate. And then Mordechai is sitting over there. They do that steer battle, and he's bowed down, and Mordechai and Haman just he's like, oh, this guy, it's like blood pressure raises up. He starts getting all red, and he's like, I cannot wait a year to destroy this human being. He's like, I'm going to kill him earlier. And he says, listen, instead of being rash, let me discuss it with my wife, Zeresh, see what she says and my advisors. So, he was boiling, he came home, he calls over his advisors, they all sit down, and they're like, Haman tells him, everything that I have, everything that I have wealth, I have power, I have money, I have literally everything. I'm a second to the king. All this is not worth it to me because there's one guy who's not bowing down to me. One guy is not bowing down to me. Everything is not worth it for me. So he goes and he's starting to think. He says, I want to kill him. I know he's going to be dead in a year, but I want to kill him earlier. So Zeresh says, listen, you're second to the king. You're the most powerful man. Why should this one life bother you? What you should do is erect a 50 cubit tall pole in our grounds, and then what you'll do is tomorrow go over to Achashverosh. Go as if you're speaking in the morning. Go as if you're speaking about regular government business, and then be like, hey, listen, there's one guy's just bugging me out. I just want to, hang him. That's fine, right? Sort of like as a matter of fact, there's one guy I'm just going to hang. I hope that's okay. And back then, murdering people wasn't like the big taboo as it is today. They used to sacrifice people to idols and who knows what. So he says, listen, I want to just get rid of this one guy. And she said, you speak to him. As a matter of fact, he'll do it for you. You'll hang him up on this 50 cubit high pole. This way, when you're by the palace that night, in the party with Esther and Achashverosh, you could go and you could watch Mordechai sway in the wind by his neck, and you'll feel happy. You'll enjoy yourself at the party. So yeah. So Haman started thinking about this, be like, excellent idea. He went and he started building this guy. But then he didn't stop over there. He's like, no, I'm going to make this is going to be big. He says, I'm not going to stop with Mordechai. I'm going to also go and I'm going to also assassinate the king and the queen. I'm going to assassinate Achashverosh and Esther. And then he says, I have connection. Yeah.
I think he likes them now, or her.
Well, whatever. Maybe he had bipolar, who knows. So he goes and he says, I am going to go and kill them because I have strong connections to the king of Greece, and maybe we can make it. I'll take over here. We'll be able to actually, and then I'll be able to become king or very high. Be very very heavily rewarded. So he goes and he is ecstatic with his plan. He's in heaven, and so he's walking in the street. Go take one look at Mordechai before he's going to kill him the next morning, and he sees Mordechai over there, and he's teaching a bunch of children. He's teaching and they're praying. The children are fasting, and Haman goes and says, like, enough with this. He's like, all the children. He tells the guards, round them up, put them in the prison. And he says, these kids are also going to die. I said they're going to die first. They're going to die first. So these kids were fasting. They were praying. They were for the Jewish people, and they were in prison. So the mothers came to visit them in prison. And what does a Jewish mother always want for their child? To eat, right? You could tell your mother you're going to New Jersey. She'll be like, take 17,000 sandwiches. I'll be like, I'm just crossing a bridge. I'll be like, you don't know how much traffic is going to be. My baby is not going to go hungry. And he's like, here's 2 shopping bags full of food. And You go traveling, especially you go to Israel, you go wherever it is, you go a long flight, a Jewish mother prepares the whole thing. But there's kosher food on the plate. What happens if there's none? What happens? 12 hours. So they go to their children and they say, eat, my dear children, eat. And they said, you're going to die tomorrow, eat. So the children said, we're not. We're with Mordechai till the end. We're fasting, we'll die fasting. And it says, in the Midrashim says down that the reason why the Jewish decree was revoked was in merit of these children's prayers. These are the children that were able to revoke the prayers. Oh wow, it's getting late. Okay, let's wrap. A few more minutes, we'll be done. Okay, so that night, Achashverosh goes to sleep. And he goes to sleep, and he has a very, very vivid dream. And in his dream, he has a dream that Haman is coming over there, and he's walking up to him, removing the king's crown, and his royal robes, and then grabbing a sword, as if to kill the king. And then the king hears in the dream, he hears, ingrate, get up and repay your benefactor. And then he wakes up in a cold sweat. He's like, what was that? That was a crazy dream. And he thinks for a second, it's like his head is spinning. He says, did I get drugged tonight? Like, I never had this type of dream before. So he goes to advisors and he tells them what happened. He says, listen, we'll go check Haman. Haman ate the same things as you, drank the same things as you. Let's see if he's having the same insomnia, same issues as you. So they send somebody quickly to check Haman. See Haman's whistling in the street. He's the happiest guy. He's like, no, it's definitely not poison because this guy, he's definitely in a good mood. So he's, so the Achashverosh is sitting there. This dream is really bothering him. And he's trying to think, what is going on over here? What is going on with this dream? Who am I ingrate? Who didn't I pay back? And what is with this Haman? Is he really trying to go after me? Is he really trying to take my crown? So he goes and the king calls, and then he starts thinking about Esther again. He's like, what's going on with Esther and Haman? He's still, that was still in his mind. He says, why is she keep on inviting him into the meal? Are they trying to assassinate me? Maybe there's an assassination attempt. And the king goes, no, there's no way. He says, everybody knows if somebody attempts to assassinate the king, they will get crazy reward if they bring it to my attention. So there would be no way that this will go unheard of. And I would have heard about this. And then he starts thinking, he said, wait a minute, but maybe somebody told me once that I was going to be assassinated, saved my life, and I never repaid him. So he calls over for his book of records. Right? The king had a book of records, and he wrote in it everything good that somebody was done to him, and what he paid him back. Now, it's not like a diary, like a 16-year-old, like Achashverosh, with his feathered pencil, and he's like, dear diary, Haman was mean today. Mordechai was so nice. XOXO. It wasn't like he's not like sitting there and writing his little, notes to himself. And in fact, this is something that's so important that we could learn from Achashverosh. We could learn from it because Achashverosh, if somebody did him a favor, he wrote it down. We have to think like that. We have to literally think, there are books that came out, by the way, that it's literally a book that is basically empty. And every day you write who you're thankful for. And then you review it at the end of the year. Say, okay, listen, I want to thank you, at the end of the year for X, Y, and Z they did. It's a very big, Sefer Zichronot is what he had. So, and it just shows what a level, because if you do something for a king, the king makes sure that you get duly rewarded for it. So he calls, he wasn't able to sleep, he had insomnia. He calls one of his servants, his advisor, and says, bring me the book of the Sefer Zichronot, bring me this book of records and start reading it to me. This was actually a custom. When the king couldn't sleep, they would read him this boring book, and all this boring information just will drift him off to sleep. So he's sitting over there, and we're going to finish in like 5 minutes or so, or a little bit less. So he's sitting over there, and he is reading. They're reading to him this book, and he's slowly, like dozing. He's reading the lullabies to Achashverosh, and he's sitting there, and he's dozing off. And suddenly they get to the point of Bigsan and Seresh, which is the attempted assassination that was held, and was saved by Mordechai and Esther. So suddenly he feels like he just wakes up. Like out of the blue, like his heart starts pounding. Like when you're almost there, you're almost sleeping, and then like your brain goes, yeah, you're not gonna sleep for another 4 hours. Yeah, let's think about all your insecurities right now. And then you're like, oh man, and then you're sitting up there, you're up for like another 4 hours. So that's what basically going on in Haman's head. He's going over there, he's sitting over there, and then all of a sudden he's falling asleep, and these thoughts pop into his head, and he hears what's going on. He hears about Bigsan and Seresh, and as the scribe is reading it, the advisor, it's reading that Bigsan and Seresh attempted assassination, and it was saved through Mordechai. And Achashverosh says, "Oh, read that back 1 second." And they were like, "No, Bigsan and Seresh, and it was the assassination attempt was saved with Mordechai." He's like, "Mordechai? I never knew Mordechai was attached to this picture." Because I never knew that he saved me. Because back then, Mordechai told Esther, "Don't tell Achashverosh that it was in my name. He wanted it in your name. He wanted to make sure that it was only in Esther's name." Esther went, and even though she said it in her name, but she wrote it in the book of scribes that it was under Mordechai. So Achashverosh goes to the scribe and says, "What did we do for Mordechai?" And the scribes looking at it, be like, to be honest, we didn't do nothing to him. I mean, you promoted him, but not, you promoted him not because he saved your life, but because of the recommendation of Esther. And he's like, yeah. No, he said we didn't do it. So he's like, you know what? Maybe this is the meaning of my dream. I was called ingrate because I didn't pay back somebody that was, this all makes sense now. Maybe there is assassination attempt against me, and no one's telling me because they figure, what's the point? They're not going to get rewarded. Tomorrow on the morning, we're going to honor Mordechai. So, and then he starts thinking about Haman and what's his plan. So again, now he's calmer that he has this plan that he's going to honor Mordechai and sort of a meaning for his dream, and he falls asleep again. And again he has the same dream with Haman. Haman coming over and taking the crown, taking off his royal robes, taking out the sword of Tiklim, and he wakes up again. And he's like, what is the meaning of this dream? What is Haman after? He says, maybe this is a sign. So at that point in time, Haman, this was early in the morning. This was before the sun comes up. And Haman was supposed to go the next morning and ask for permission to hang and kill Mordechai. However, Haman said, he was impatient. He's like, no, like one of the, like he needed his addict. I was like, I need the drugs, I need the stuff right now. He's like, I need to kill Mordechai right now. I can't wait until tomorrow. And he's going, and he says, and he goes and he says, I'm not waiting till the morning. Let me go to the palace in the earlier hours of the morning. So he goes in. The palace is quiet, sitting over there, and suddenly, the king hears somebody is outside. Somebody, Haman knocked on the door. So the king says, "Who's outside?" So the servants look. I don't know how they look. They looked in the camera, and they said it's Haman. So the servant says, you don't need any professional dream interpreter. God's sending you the interpretation yourself. It's Haman. He's obviously after something. You had 2 dreams, and what's he doing so early in the morning over here? No one comes here so early. He actually always comes in late. Shows us his value. He always shows up, like rolls in to work at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Shows that I'm the boss. I don't have to. What is he doing way before everybody even wakes up? He's coming in here. He's up to no good. So the king is thinking. He says, you know what? You're right. He says, all right. Let's do it like this. This is the plan. Don't let him come in. Let's see what happens. Let's see what he's going to let him run around. Let's see what's going to happen. B'ezrat Hashem will continue next week.